So one of the biggest obstacles that creatives, that artists, authors, and entrepreneurs have to overcome is perfectionism. Perfectionism, I believe, is the enemy of creativity. And the reason for this is because I think all of us have succumbed to this, where we have to wait for the perfect opportunity and moment in order to act and develop a process to bring out our ideas to life. And I think the reason why we are perfectionists, or we strive to be perfect, is really because I think underneath the underbelly of perfectionism is procrastination. We make excuses for ourselves as to why not to do something. So I think here are some great ways I think that we can overcome procrastination and perfectionism and act out on our ideas. And the first tip, I think, is sort of to understand that there's never going to be a perfect time to act. There'll never be a perfect time to be able to start a business, write a book, start a nonprofit, or fight for a cause you believe in. There's never going to be a perfect time. There's always going to be problems, lack of resources. It's never going to be perfect. And I think that's something that you're going to need to understand and come to terms with when you're looking to start a business, a creative endeavor, writing a book, etc. And oftentimes I've had to overcome this a lot. I've always waited for the perfect opportunity to to work on a project and write a book or work on a business. I always hesitated because I was always waiting for the perfect time, but there'll never be a perfect time to start. Now, this doesn't mean that you should not do any homework or research or take an exorbitant amount of risk where you can lose all your money, etc. You don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, you got to make a bet on yourself and you have to start taking action on your ideas. The second way to overcome procrastination and perfectionism is to start acting right now and start listening to your instincts. There's a lot of information out there, all right, on social media. There's plenty of content. You're consuming it right now, listening to me. But I would argue that you really need to start listening to your instincts in terms of what you really want and what action you should be taking right now. So take out a journal and listen to yourself and write down some ideas or action steps that you can take right now to move forward. And believe it or not, when you start listening to yourself and really dissecting it as to what it is that you want, you'll be surprised at what you'll be able to accomplish and what you'll be able to do by simply just making a few action steps that you can start doing right now in order to develop a process to move in the direction of where it is that you want to go. And then also another tip is this idea of self-awareness. Being self-aware of your thought processes, your actions that are leading to the type of results that you're getting on a daily basis. Maybe some of those results are good, maybe some of them are not so good, but you want to be self-aware of where you are right now mentally, maybe also physically. Maybe you're not in the best of health. Having great physical health is important, believe it or not, when it comes to pursuing a specific goal, an entrepreneurial endeavor, artistic endeavor. If you're not in great physical health, then of course that's going to be impair you from pursuing a goal and developing a business or an artwork. But also, your mental health is very important as well. You want to be self-aware of maybe any sort of frustrations and resentments and things that you're experiencing right now that could be holding you back. Being self-aware is incredibly important. And I would suggest that you want to take inventory of where you are mentally, physically, and really where you are in your life and begin to start taking steps, again, taking those action steps to move in another direction and reshift your focus from where you are to where you want to go. And then finally, another thing I would consider is to imagine, and this is more of a mental exercise, or you could do it again in a journal, which I recommend, which by the way, I have right here. Again, this costs like $3 you could use, okay? Not an expensive accessory or tool that you could use. What I would recommend is using a journal and start thinking about where you are in terms of this idea of bridging the gap. Imagine on one part of the page or on the screen, if you want to use a word processor, right, Microsoft Word. Imagine a lower part of the screen is where you currently are, your current circumstances, where you are right now in your life, etc. And then on the top part of that page or that screen, okay, is where you want to be, all your aspirations and goals and dreams and things that you would like to accomplish. And when you look at that page or that screen, you're going to see there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap is fear, frustration, anxiety. It's the unknown. We have no idea how it is to get to from where we are to where we want to be. And that is what I think causes Perfectionism. We have to wait for the perfect time because we need to know every step along the way to get where we want to be, to write that book, to start that business, etc. But I would argue you're not going to know every step along the way. That's why it's called the unknown. But when you embrace the unknown and you embrace the fact that, look, you're not going to know every step along the way to get where you want to be, that's incredibly liberating. But when you start taking that first step, then the next step will follow, and etc. Okay? The life reveals itself to you when you begin to focus on what it is that you want. And when you focus on what you want and what you want to accomplish, then I believe that's when things begin to happen. That's when you move in the direction where you want to go. Again, it's not a perfect circumstance. It's not going to be the ideal situation, but when you reshift your focus from where you are to where you want to be, that's when you begin to take action steps in the direction of your desires and goals, and that's when things begin to happen. And I think that's when your creative magic begins to really unfold, and you really start to do some amazing things. I've seen that in my life. I've seen it in many other creatives and entrepreneurs, that when they reshift their focus and they get going and just take action without hesitating, they just go and see what happens. And if you fail, you can always pick up and yourself up and try again. Then again, that's when really a lot of amazing things happen.